check and see if it makes a difference on the amperage controls, and it does. So maxed out on the 0.8. So we're going to have a look at another welder today. This one was sent to me by Simder. It's the SD4050 Mini, and it's a 3-process welder, both 110 and 220 capable as far as the input power. It has capability of lift TIG, stick, or flux core welding. So let's have a look at everything that's included in the box. We'll get it set up and we'll give it a test and a review. If we look at this plate on the box, indicates down here welding current, 60% duty cycle at 140 amps and then 100% duty cycle at 108 amps. This is both a 110 or 220 machine, and it'll do 3 processes: MIG, MMA, and lift TIG. All right, here's what we had in the box. You've got just your standard MIG gun with connections. Pretty basic setup. And it just has a press-on fit for the gas cup, which is not necessary for flux core. Then you've got a tip in here, and I don't know what size that is. It says 0.8, so if that's for the 030 wire. And that's going to connect on the negative side of the front of the machine. Connect your switch. And then the ground clamp will fit in this other slot, which is the positive side. And this comes with one of the most basic ground clamps I've seen. I haven't seen a clamp like this since I got the Harbor Freight 90 amp flux core, but it's probably sufficient for this machine, and I've done a lot of welding with a clamp like this. But this will go into the negative side with the little DINS connector, push and turn. It does come with the chipping hammer and slag brush or flux core brush. And a lot of people put these down, but I'll be perfectly honest with you, I've used them a lot, and it'll definitely get you started. And this would be a good starter kit for basic learning and just getting your feet wet with flux core welding. And then it also comes with the rod holder for the stick or the MMA function. Pretty basic. It has a pretty decent strength spring on it. And I'm looking in here right now, and I got a bunch of paint on those contacts, so that's going to have to be, or is that, yeah, like paint or plastic. You probably can't see it in the video, but is over that contact. So I'll have to take a screwdriver and clean that off so I get a good contact with the stick. And if you want to do any TIG welding with this machine, you'll have to buy an optional valve-controlled TIG torch, which Simder sells on their website, in order to use the TIG function. It's worth mentioning right now, this is filmed in mid-November 2023. Simder is running a huge Black Friday sale right now on their website. I'll put the link to their website and to this machine in the description if you want to go check out and get more information about it. But if you're just looking to get started in welding, this might be a potentially pretty good option for you. I think the machine with their discount is, at this point in time when I film this video, down to about $130 for this setup. It only takes 2-pound spools. It's not big enough for a 10-pound. So I'll get a 2-pound spool of flux core wire and we'll give it a test and see how it runs. So right now I have the welder plugged into a 110 volt outlet, just a small extension cord over there to my 110 volt outlet. Now let's turn it on. Sounds like it has a constant fan. So as soon as you turn it on, the fan comes on. And let's look at some of these. So right up here we've got 0.8, 0.9. So you've got 030 or 035 wire for the flux core. Voltage just showing power input and a temp over temp sign, and then this little signal here is the button you press to change the selection. So you can go to 09, go over here to lift TIG, and then up here we've got stick function. So let's look at the voltages on 110. Low voltage for stick is 20 amps. And that goes to 127. 35 amps to 127 for 0.080. And 0.09, we've got 58. So it jumps up a little bit there. And then the TIG, we've got 127 max down to 15 amps. Now this is on 110 volts. It appears to be a synergic only machine, so it says synergic, smart, and then your amps and volts. When you're welding flux core, this will be your voltage trim, so you can trim the voltage plus or minus 3 volts, and you don't see any change on the screen. It just shows you that the trim, you can trim that voltage. And then here's your amperage adjustment on this side. And that was 35 to 127 for the 0.8 wire size. So I'm going to shut it off. We'll connect it to a 220 volt outlet and see if we can get up to 140 volts on the screen. So here I'm plugged in with the adapter. And this is a kind of a backwards adapter. The machine has got a 110 plug and you're adapting to the 220. I prefer it to be the other way. Have the 220 plug on the machine and the adapter adapts you to a 110 volt outlet. But this is the way this one's set up. So let's turn it on. And we'll just check and see if it makes a difference on the amperage controls. And it does. So maxed out on the 0.8. We've got 140, still down to 35, 58 to 140 on the 0.9 wire. On the TIG, 15 to 140, and the same thing for the stick, 20 to 140. Okay, I've got the Simder SD4050 Mini plugged into 240 volt outlet, and we're starting out real thin, so I'm using 65 amps on this galvanized rectangular tubing, and I think this is about 18 gauge. Test out the lower capabilities. I did do a couple of practice runs just to kind of see how the settings were. I started at 60 and bumped it up to 65 amps. I've set on 0 here. This is 030 flux core wire. Let's give it a shot. I'll weld a couple of these fillet welds and then we'll have a look at it. I kind of lost my sunshine on the end of that last clip. Sun totally went behind a cloud. I thought it was turning into nighttime. Anyway, here's the first weld. It's all right. I mean, the machine did okay, but I didn't do very good. Got some lack of fusion on the toes there a little bit. Maybe I could turn it up another 5 amps. And then after the piece was warmed up, I did the second piece right after it, and it actually came out real nice. But the piece was a little bit warmer for this second one. So just for fun, I'm going to turn the machine up to probably 110 amps, and we'll run another bead across this one and see how it does. Let's try 90 amps. We'll see what that does for a second pass, just for fun. So there's after the second pass. I should have stuck with 100. It's still a little bit cold. So let's move on. All right, next we'll just do a fillet weld on this piece of bed frame. I'll probably just do half of this. Do one side, see what it looks like, and then adjust if necessary to do the second half. And I'm going to turn it up to 110. That one did a real nice job. That was on 110 volts set on the machine, and a fillet weld with the Flux core, the Simder SD4050 Mini. All right, just for fun, let's do on the back side here. It's not really a joint, it's just the curve of the angle iron. See if I can stack some dimes in there, just for fun, see what happens. All right, there's the attempt at the dimes, and it didn't do too well. I mean, it made a decent weld, a little off the joint a little bit, but I need to cool that. It's too hot. So I'm going to drop it down to 90 amps and try to run another stringer in there and see what happens, just for fun. Let's try 85. All right, there's my second attempt at some dimes, and it did quite a bit better. I just need some practice still, but I'm just having fun. All right, so let's hook up. I'm going to do some old 1/4 inch thick walled pipe. I'll just set this up at a T-joint, something like this, and run a bead halfway across, and we'll see what it looks like. I'm going to turn the machine up all the way just to test the max. Now I'm plugged into 240 volts here, so I can get to 140 with the 0.030 wire, and we'll give that a try and see what happens. Here's a look at the 1/4 inch with the Simder SD4050 Mini on 240 volts, set at 140 amps, maxed out flux core wire. I'm pretty pleased with that. I think it did real nice. So I'm going to go ahead and just do a restart, tag onto that, and finish that weld, and then we'll have a look at it. All right, there we are, finished out. Looks like it got a little bit colder. I must have picked up my travel speed just a little bit there in the second half, in a hurry to get it done, I guess. But it's still a decent weld. That's a 1/4 inch, piece of 1/4 inch pipe. So cool thing about this particular machine is you get another 13 amps if you're using 240 volt input. 127 I think was max on the 110 volt input. And then when you're into 240 volt input, you can get up to 140 amps. But it's a nice little welder. I'm amazed how these little welders do so well. They're a lot of fun, and boy, you can sure do a lot of fun projects in your garage with a little welder like that. Anywhere from some thin 18 gauge to 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, everything in between. Nice little welder. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up before you leave, and consider subscribing if you haven't already, if you want to see more of these videos. And if you click that thumbnail that's on the screen now, you can check out another one of my welding and fabrication videos, and we'll see you over there.